crashing with friends.
Tell them about the time you pooped yourself on the bus.
Why did I not think that you would bring that up? Okay, so
David, God,
my dumb ass, right? So I like.
This is what you wanted to hear on the podcast. You wanted to serve them up cold.
Yes, I shit my pants on the school bus. It was awesome. So that morning I made scrambled eggs, and I was like, oh, dude, it'd be so good to throw Tabasco peppers in there, right? So I chopped up some Tabasco peppers and threw it in my scrambled eggs. Well, everybody knows, I think, that capsaicin stimulates your bowels. You know, once it hits the intestines or the colon, and you're going, whether you want to or not.
I'm pretty sure we have IBS too. It's undiagnosed though.
Thanks for that, David. Thanks for that. Reveal my dark secrets.
You said we.
So I get that in me, and then, you know, again, my dumbass eats Taco Bell, like a full box meal before I get on the bus. I'm like, this is going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Nothing ever happens when I eat Taco Bell, right?
did you wash it down with some prune juice?
I think I had a Dr. Pepper with it. But so I get on the bus, right? And I'm like, okay, no big deal. I get to the school. And then as I pull in to the high school where I pick up shuttle students, and then I go over to the other school, and then I drop off my shuttle, I pick up my kids, and then we take them home. As I get to the first school for my shuttle students, I feel like that wave. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You feel a wave, and it like, ugh.
That's the warning.
Right.
Yep.
You get like 3 warning shots, and if you're not in the bathroom, then it's coming. So I'm like, okay, I felt the wave, and it passed. So I'm like, you know, you want to believe that it was just kind of like a, you know, maybe I got gas or something like that.
You
right?
want to feel that you can overcome this.
Yeah. You know, you
like-
think you have the willpower.
My shit does not control me. I choose when to shit.
Yes. I was hyping myself up.
right?
Yeah, or in Jack's case.
Yeah, it doesn't happen all the time, man.
So, you know,
We don't win every battle.
The kids start to trickle onto the bus from the high school, right? And so like my bus is half full. I got time. And then I feel another one, or like I unbuckle my seatbelt, jump out of the seat, and I'm like pacing outside the bus at this point. I'm like, okay, push it back, push it back, push it back. I'm like, okay, got it under control, jump back on the bus. By then, most of the kids are on. And then as we're pulling out, third wave, right? And I'm like sitting up in the seat, like pinching it, right? And I'm like tensing up, and I'm just like staring forward, not talking to anybody at this point. I'm starting to lose depth perception, you know?
Shit my pants.
So I'm like, okay, just make it to Carver, right? So I'm like thinking, I'm like, third wave. I made it through third wave, right? And I'm like, okay, just focus on driving. There's nothing I can do to speed up this bus because I'm in a line of buses, then I get in traffic, you know, there's a few stops on the way. So halfway to Carver, wave 4, you know, you get 3 warnings, right? Wave 4, and I'm like, okay, so I'm lifting up off the seat, and the seatbelt's there, pushing right there. And so I like drop back down, and I'm like, when you sit in that position, you got to shit, right? So like, I'm like up and down, like, oh shit. And then I try to loosen the seatbelt, and it pushes it down harder onto my, so I'm like, oh my God, like, and then it's just like, and I'm like, you know, straight face, like how do you handle something like that? So, and you know, it's never like a full release, right? You think it's pushing this hard, you'd think it would just let it go, right? But it's just like enough to be like, you have no control, right? I got your colon is in control at this moment, right? And so it's just like, at that moment, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit as still as possible so nobody smells it. And then I get a whiff, and I'm like, God dang it, man.
And the first thing you got to do is like, you kids smell poop. Be the first one to acknowledge it.
Turn around. Who shit their pants?
Someone back there is pooping.
Just call out a name. Like, Kyle. Kyle, I know it was you.
Oh, God.
But then I get to Carver and turn off the bus and open the door and immediately toss my keys to my bus monitor and say, get a new bus driver. And I just beeline for the bathroom. And I don't think anybody's, like, when I got back on the bus, nobody knew that I shit my pants. Nobody smelled it. And I was walking kind of awkwardly, but I'm like, as I'm walking, I didn't even stop. I'm like asking teachers, like, where's the nearest bathroom? Where's the nearest bathroom? And so I get into the bathroom, lock the door, you know, do what you got to do. It just all comes out all at once, right? And I'm like traumatized at this moment, like, okay, I can handle this. And I turn and there's a full roll of toilet paper in there, right? And it's not coming out. It's locked in. Like someone put it in wrong and it's not coming out. So I can't get the toilet paper out. And I'm like, okay, that sucks. And I'm like, paper towels, right? I reach over, the paper towel dispenser is broken also. So I get like, you know, the little corner of a paper towel and that's all I can get. And so I've got no toilet paper, no wipes, and I took everything off when I got in there. So I'm like sitting there with no shirt on,
and you're naked.
And my
in
pants
school.
are at my ankles, right? And
In an elementary
some little fucker pissed on the floor, so all my stuff ended up in a puddle of piss. So my
Dirty boys.
He starts rolling it around.
like
Marinade.
Train spotting all of a sudden.
come back out with
More
my
pee.
shit boxers on my head. So it's like one thing after another is more traumatizing, right? So I call my wife, you know, and I'm like, hey babe, there's no other way to say this. I shit my pants. I'm in the bathroom at Carver and I'm getting like text message after text message from my boss. Like, you good? You good? You coming back out? You coming back out? I'm like, no, I told my bus monitor I'm shitting. I'm not coming back out. I'm not coming back out.
This is my life now.
And it was in that fateful moment. So a teacher came knocking on the door and she's like, hey, the buses are leaving. And I'm like, okay. Okay. And then, Megan goes and she gets me a change of clothes and I asked her for wipes too, you know, because I needed something. So she gets there. I hear a knocking on the door. And I'm like, who is it? You know, and it was a kid. And I'm like, okay, well, occupied, you know. And then Megan comes up, she knocks, and I'm like, who is it? It's Megan. So she hands me a bag, and I open it up, and it's clothes and nothing to clean myself up with. And, you know, like the blood just drains from my face. I'm like so pissed at my wife for not bringing wipes. And I texted her, and I'm like, the sole purpose of you coming to the bathroom is to bring me wipes to clean myself up, right? And so she's like, oh, I left him in the car. I'm like, okay, good. So I hear another knock at the door. And this time, and I'm standing butt naked in my birthday suit.
Covered in shit.
Head to toe. And
Are you actually completely naked, or
literally
are you
completely naked? Literally completely naked.
Oh, man.
I'm like, my socks have piss on them. My pants and my boxers have shit on them. I'm just going naked. So I hear a knock at the door, right? I'm like, it's my wife, Shirley. I open it, and there's a kid walking away. There's a mirror right there. So no matter where I stand in the bathroom, somebody will see me from outside there. So I'm like behind the door, and there's the door crack. You can see through the door crack too. So the kid's walking away, and I'm like, slam it as hard as I fucking can. And again, the blood drains from my face, and I'm like, I almost lost my career, my family, everything. This kid's gonna be like, pee-pee, you know, and I'm fucked.
Yeah,
and so
Naked bus driver.
He was lying in wait.
I'm just like covered in shit and piss, like, kill me, you know. Little kid's traumatized as well.
Imagine if that could have been like a skull police officer that was
Oh
like
my
knocking
God.
on the door. Like, oh man.
You laying traps for little kids.
It's the explaining you would have to do.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just show him your ass.
You know they never believe it. They
happened.
spread your cheeks.
Help
Look
me.
at my boxers. That ain't real shit.
Let me get a whiff.
Smells like Tabasco peppers.
If it was my son, he'd be like, no, look at mine. Put your dick underwear off. God.
Oh my God.
Kid's
So
always got so much poop in his pants.
finally she gets there. I clean myself up. I get changed. I go out to the car and you know, I was talking to my wife on the phone, right? She had me on speaker in her car, and my sister-in-law was in the car.
Oh my
And
God.
she thought I was joking. Like, I heard her laughing in the background at first, you know, like, oh, that's funny. What a funny joke, you know. But
That Aaron.
gives me every time. No, so it was just, and after I got back to the bus barn, and everybody had already, you know, taken over for me and figured out what was going on. After I got back to the bus barn, the bus drivers, as I walked in, you know, they were sitting in the break room. They all just kind of look at me. He's like, so, what did they call it? He's like, that was kind of a shit show today, huh? And I was like, yeah, it was a little rough. And he's like, well, one of them was a truck driver at one point. And he said, I used to be a national truck driver. So he went all over the country. And he said, I've left a pair of shitty underwear at every state in the union. Or something like that. And he was like, it ain't no big deal. We've all done it. And I'm like, well, good to know. Good to know. And he's like, you're officially a bus driver now.
Yeah. He's like, you're here among friends now.
Shared experience. So yeah, it's an interesting time.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I use humor to get through the trauma, you know.